right, guys.
You're asking me all the time, like, what do you have against motorhomes?
I don't have anything against motorhomes. I just don't get a chance to see many. So I made a chance to see some, and I kicked in the door down here at Grand Design today, and we're gonna get our first full look at the new Lineage M series. And you want to stay tuned, because this is a shiny, pretty penny right here. Welcome, everybody. Josh the RV Nerd of Bishop's RV. And if you appreciate the footage today, throw a quick special thanks, Grand Design, down in the comment section. They were kind enough to get this inside and pulled in and set up for us today. The thing is, like, if you look at this, you're like, oh, it's everybody else makes this floor plan. I've seen Mercedes chassis motorhomes before. It sounds so hokey to say, but not like this you haven't. And I will explain what that means. First of all, as far as I know, this is pretty much one of the very first North American rigs to ride on the Mercedes 4500 chassis instead of the 3500, and that allowed them a little bit more ability to bulk up the chassis and the structure on this thing. And what that does for you is enhance the ride and handling of this thing. So anyone who's ever been in a motorhome or watched a small little coach like this roll out of a gas station, you ever notice how it rocks and it rolls and it weebles and it wobbles? Well, this one doesn't do that. It's just on a more stable, sturdy platform. It basically went through, they kind of worked in conjunction with MoRide to do a ride and handling upfit on this. We have a 3,500 pound tow rating. We have 600 watts of solar on the roof and 260 amp hours of standard Lithionics batteries. Lithionics is a name brand of lithium battery, by the way. Standard holding tank heaters. We have an auto gen start system. It's basically, it's all Starlink prepped. You have the ability to potentially remotely monitor and operate some of this RV's major systems. And that gives you the ability to do what I call the puppy saver, where you have a, you can keep the generator running even when you're out kayaking for the day or something like that. Propane generator on there. And one of the things I noticed, the body of this is a little bit wider. The roof, floor, and walls are all almost basically double the industry standard, what you usually find on a Mercedes chassis like this, because they went with that bulkier Mercedes chassis. They were able to bulk everything up. But also, they have a deeper slide, a wider body, and they were able to give this thing a 70 by 80 RV king bed. And if you go comparing other builders out there who make a layout like this, so many of them have only a 70-inch long bed. I'm over 6 foot tall. My feet will hang off that thing. The bed goblin union will chew my toes while I'm sitting there sleeping. You won't have that problem in here. And that's the thing. Every area of the coach had just a little bit more thought and emphasis placed on it. And I've already talked enough. Let's get in there because there's so much to cover on this one. But first things first.
Aw.
I'm not going to lie. I'm a little disappointed with the horn. It's more of a friendly, hey, like you're passing someone's house after you got groceries. How can I say this? I like a horn that sounds the way a middle finger feels. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's just me. Now, you have very few options in this coach. That's by design. We're going to talk about, like, you have a couple, like, you have standard wheels, there's steel wheels, there's aluminum, there's chrome, stuff like that. You also have a couple choices in seating. You have a choice between the power theater recliner that we're looking at, which is probably what I would go with personally, or you have a dinette choice, but you also have a touch choice, basically. There's a soft touch kind of option, and if you stick with the standard base package, which is not what we're looking at, you'll have the standard, Mercedes Sprinter seat coverings as well. But there's also a little box you can check for the ultra leather, the ultra fab, whatever it's called, option here. And that's what we're looking at. This is not the RV industry pleather that likes to peel flake and all that crap after a couple years. This is like the kind of stuff that you find on like Gulfstream jets and whatnot. This is very nice. This is this is probably, again, what I would want to go with. But notice how there actually are seat belts in your seating area right here, so that this is rated for somebody to be able to sit here in transit. And look at the ridiculously sized swivel stands that go into the cup holders over here. Those things are the biggest I've ever seen and probably one of the most useful. The only thing I would say is they're so big, you might be able to actually put a lot of weight on them and buckle them. So just use some common sense right here. You know what I mean? What is the stereo's listening to me the entire time? Evidently, we have a voice activated smart stereo system going on. It's going to be it's going to have a massive audio file recording this entire thing. I am curious. What do you think about the decor that we're looking at right here? It was very European inspired. If you go over to Europe, you find a lot of these coaches with these dark ceilings. Then they look very chic, very modern. I think to the North American eye, it makes the ceiling look and feel a little bit cramped in, but it's really not. It's what is this, 6'9", 6'10", I think, floor to ceiling clearance through this entire rig. So it's not really any shorter than everything else. But notice the visual trend too. Everything is very sharp, very linear, very square, all by intention. They didn't go with a lot of radius work on this, which, some people really prefer the radius look, but they really wanted that heavier definition. Now that's a 15,000 BTU air conditioner up top, but it has basically an omnidirectional air intake. So it has a greater ability to have air recycled back in. So it has a greater ability to have air pushed back out. Another thing that's interesting about their air system is that they went with these longer rectangular diffusers as compared to the industry standard circular variety. One of the reasons this is really cool is it actually splits the air when it comes out left, right. So you have more, airflow capacity and better distribution, which I think is cool. You may also notice it's got that like 5G Wi-Fi antenna point built into it. Behind the television, there's actually some starlight prep. We'll get there in a minute. And I get that this video is running long. I'm still pointing at the front of this thing 4 minutes into the video, but there's a lot to cover. Like the door is not your industry standard RV motorhome door. This is a door that comes from Europe. Like the cabinet doors, come from Italy. There's a bunch of stuff on this that's imported, but you've got that integrated shade on it. And we're going to talk more about the door outside. It is actually a more heavy duty kind of door construction. So the door doesn't pop open and say howdy doody to the guy in the lane next to you. I also really like how it does have that shade built right into it there. So if you want to leave the door open, but you want to keep the bugs out, you absolutely can do that. Then we have their exclusive Cobra air system that is cab over bunk ram air. Basically, they have a unique patent pending AC ducting system on this so that even the overhead front cab area gets some nice airflow. Now your front overhead cab up here, it is rated for 350 pounds. They give you these handy little, side pockets. Basically, you can see how there are power solutions on both sides. It's very symmetrical up here. Pardon my vest. It got a little warm inside this thing. You also have a power shade up front. So, with the push of a button, which we actually just looked at the button, that's a blackout night shade that can roll down right there. And actually, why am I talking about it when we can literally just see it real quick? But more than just a privacy shade, all of the pieces up here, they're all custom fit, custom mold. The idea being that, this is behind a big one-piece sleeve over the cab cap. So this cap doesn't have any front-facing seams where the wind can get into it and wear it out more quickly and more easily. The idea being the number one problem point with overhead cab RVs for years was leak points. Well, they've made it so there kind of aren't any in the front of this. Oh yeah, the flooring also. This is all Shaw flooring. So this is like hospital sterile grade, heavier duty flooring even. And the floor thickness, the walls and the roof, they're all nearly twice as thick as your common industry standard in this coach, in this class. Now, chances are you've seen a steering wheel and a front cab before, so I don't think I need to belabor that point too awful much, but take a look at this. They have this little hidden, hard to pop open, little headrest secret squirrel storage compartment up here where you can keep your contraband, basically. But what I thought about that is, RVs are not fortresses, and the fact is, if somebody really wants to get into this coach, they're going to. But if you can make it not easy and obvious for them where your stuff is located, you have a much better chance of keeping your things. So I thought that was a very interesting, clever design. I also, you have the sound system in this. I can't give you a good demo. I don't use the kind of audio equipment that'll give you a good demo, but this is a Rockford Fosgate system, and like even these little covers are magnetic and just quickly, easily kind of taken off. If you want to clean them, pop them back up. It's just very simple. Speaking of cleaning and taking stuff off, the air conditioner also has a residential filtration system on it. So if you are camping in the Dust Bowl, you can very easily be, breathing better air effectively. Now, as long as I'm over here, let me give you a quick look at the kitchen. One of the things I like about it is I think that they did a better job of solving the entertainment dilemma that a lot of small coaches have. You're staring straight on that 12-volt smart TV. This rig actually has 3 of those. You have one in the living room, one back in the bedroom, and one outside. So you have like literal 3-zone entertainment. And I'm actually hearing my voice echo through the mostly empty facility that I'm in right now, because these windows open more than about anything else and provide some of the best airflow you can imagine. In fact, I'm basically staring one. Let's talk about the windows. I love how they don't have the boxy valances and lambrequins. These are a true dual pane with a hollow core Euro window. If you're familiar with like my Ember videos or something like that, essentially the exact same. It's called a Euro window because it comes from Europe. But you have the daytime, which is your bug screen, by the way, and then you have the nightshade. Now, I like to be ultra fair. If you have the window open for airflow, but you have the bug screen in place, when you close the window, you could have created a pocket where some bugs are trapped in there. And then if you open this, you might still let some bugs inside. Not as many as if you just left the window open full time, but it is a real thing that could potentially happen. And I try to be very fair, very real. If I'm going to be very fair and real, I am surprised, with the budget that's invested in here and some of the really thoughtful details that we don't have a stovetop side splash. That's one of the only things I felt was like maybe sort of missing from this overall. But I guess if that's the biggest complaint I have, then overall they're doing pretty good. Now, I've become a person who has come to prefer more physical switches versus smart systems. But I will say the Dragonfly system that they're using over here is one of my favorites because it provides more diagnostics, more things like easier access to your auto gen start feature. But also, one of the other things that I was just playing around with the menus right here, this whole screen, this whole chassis screen, I don't think you're even going to read it that closely, but it gives you stuff that the RV industry is not required to tell you. It tells you your diesel filter saturation. It tells you, of course, your def levels. And one of the other things that it'll do is it can communicate with you. Like you can sync your smartphone to it so that it will basically it'll tell you like if you're, hey, you might want to start finding a place to get some def, or instead of letting this Mercedes engine idle, which clogs up the diesel filter, you might want to run this thing a little bit so you don't get a check engine light that requires you to go to a service center to get reset. You can't reset it in the field, technically speaking. I'm sure there's going to be somebody who knows how to rig that thing, but that's not what you're supposed to do. It basically helps give you some reminders to keep you in the field and to keep you out of things. Now, you might notice how it's all solid wood cabinet doors. Even your cabinet door fronts, it's all European poplar. It's not just like compressed particle board that's been smashed together with glue in your imagination or anything like that. Also, these are all soft close. Oh, and you've got the little, locking handles to keep them out of the way. I love the fact, too, that they gave us a little place for a wastebasket under the sink. So many brands will miss little details like that. And you have limited counter space here, but the countertop flush solid surface extension it comes in really, really clutch. And I'm sure you noticed, but you have a like air fryer, convection, microwave, electric oven down below the stovetop. And something people don't realize about stovetops. What if I told you 2 burners is actually potentially more useful than 3? And that everyone's like, that sounds like a salesman's stupid line. Here's what you don't realize about a lot of RV stovetops. RV stovetops used to have 4 burners. They combined the gas flow to the front too to make one high output burner that can actually boil water. And then they usually have two low output burners that really struggle to even keep water boiling. What they did here is they took and combined the front and back. I'm doing a Vulcan live long and prosper over here. So you have high output, high output. You can actually have two things really cooking here. And because it's a smaller profile, it creates some counter space on an RV that frankly really, really needs it. And I showed you the plugs, remember, behind the TV. It's all Starlink prepped. So if you do want to go that route, you can. But you do have integrated 5G capacity here with this Winegard gateway. Basically, there's just a subscription thing that you can bump into on that and go to town. That is a 10 cubic foot, 10.7 cubic foot, if we're going to get technical, 12 volt compressor fridge. And this I like to see. You have a big XL vent fan in here. Like if you want to open those Euro style windows and really force some airflow through the sucker, you can get it. I was surprised to see the bathroom does have only the 4-inch fan. It wouldn't be hard to upgrade that, but it might be something that you want to consider doing. That's just totally, I guess, up to you. Now, this right here, this is a major deal. A lot of people don't realize it's really in the towable RV industry, which is where most of my videos come from. If an RV doesn't have an 80-inch residential length bed, a lot of people are like, nope, no deal, no sale. But in the motorized industry, did you know the majority of motorized RVs do not have a residential length mattress? And they cost far more money for a smaller, hard-to-use bed. You don't have that here. Because the coach is wider and they engineered a deeper slide, they were able to give this thing a 70 by 80 RV King mattress. Just some really, really smart details going on here. Before I forget, because it's around the corner, over on this side over here, you have what I'm going to call a headboard power pocket. There are some household and USB outlets in there. I like that you don't have the blue interrupt your sleep lights above the bed. They're just the white reading bendy lights. They also have an indirect kind of thing. But look at the lighting through the top of the slide. Like when you have a black ceiling in an RV, I was afraid it was going to look and feel dark. And if you stare at just the ceiling, it kind of feels that way. But as soon as we stop staring at just the ceiling, it is extremely well lit in here. Now look at the thickness of this mattress. This might be one of the very few RV beds I've seen in a long time that doesn't suck eggs. Also, it is a folding mattress. The mattress will not be usable in transit. I will show you road mode on this a little bit, but I've laid on this thing and I flopped around on it. You do not feel the seam because it has like a 2.5, 3-inch thick cover on it. And your decking below is all an ultra dense composite core. Again, if you've watched my Ember videos, remember how I talked about how they have an extremely dense composite flooring in the Embers? This is basically the same kind of flooring that like Airstreams use as well. That's what is under your bedding over here, creating a hard thermal break between inside and outside, which I think is really, really nice. One of the other things that kind of surprised me on this, though, was for a smaller coach, like we already saw the kitchen storage. I was shocked at how much total storage this does bring to the table. As somebody who also camps myself, I also really appreciate the fact that I didn't have to juggle that cabinetry open with my head to get up in there. Also, just the stupid little details. Every single one of these European poplar doors, they always have the little felt pads. Because when you're something you don't realize in like in most RVs is how noisy it is inside them while you're banging it down the road. Well, in a motorized RV, when you're in the RV while it's banging down the road, it makes a big difference. They did a lot of work here to make this a quieter, more enjoyable experience in transit, not just at a destination. Oh, hello. We have some dovetailed drawer construction right here. That is nice. Okay, so basically, the drawers aren't just exclusively stapled together, just extra little details they put in here. Again, oh, by the way, if you do want bedroom privacy, there's actually a removable curtain you can hang up. You see one of the little curtain hooks up there. So there is a curtain that you can place up on this thing, but you don't have a curtain in your living room all day, every day. You might have noticed there is some motion lighting in that big closet on the back wall right here. It just turned itself off because I hadn't been close enough to it for a while. But you have some really awesome closet space up in here. Now, something else I noticed I thought was really, really cool is what is going on down here. Just like you have behind the main television, they have like an HDMI inlet and some power outlets down there. So if you want to have separate stuff here for the bedroom TV versus the living room TV, you can. So like if I wanted to put the Nintendo Switch in the cabinet over here and then just put my controller in that headboard power pocket that we looked at over by the bed, I could do that too. But look at this. You want a little spot to have a little bedside nightstand? You got it. But you don't have to sacrifice storage to get it. And there are some household outlets on the bed base right down there. So if you need a CPAP station or something like that, you have the perfect little opportunity for it. Now, this is really tight quarters in here. It's hard for me to kind of display all of this, so apologies there. There is extra storage below the bed. Yeah, you know what? As long as we're talking about all the storage, this is probably one of the best times to display that, isn't it? Sorry, my brain had to brain for a second. This is actually a dual access compartment. You can see how there's an outside compartment door to get here. So if you're like, dude, I don't want to have to like wrestle the bed every time I want to get down here, you don't have to. Now, when I first noticed, like it's to walk around that bed, it's tight back in that corner. You're doing a sideways travel trailer two-step butt scoop boogie to get your way navigated around there. However, I've been in 5 or 6 other builders who make this same style of layout. And the bathroom is always so narrow, it drives me nuts. Like I can't fit into it. Oh, solid surface, undermount stainless sink, even in the bathroom. I didn't even key into that before this. However, I noticed when I got in this one, I could actually walk in and stand in it normally. And I realized because of the wider body, they were able to make the bathroom wider, which is awesome. Now, I was a little surprised by this. It has a very aggressive step up into the shower. You might have noticed how my head is in the skylight up there. So kind of keep that little detail in mind. And as long as we're going through... Hey, by the way, if you appreciate like all the extra details, like, you know, showing you even the shower door, like all the different things, do me a favor, drop me a little, hey, thanks, nerd, or something like that on the video. Now, it's not that the shower head's missing. It's just that you can mount this high or low. So if you want a belly blaster or if you want a scalp massager, you got a little bit of either choice. But take a look at this. This is like something that you find kind of in the marine industry, but basically that's a material that water can just go right through. So it's an anti-slip shower mat that's removable if you want it, but it also has, of course, that front drain right there. It's just all those extra little creature comfort detail features that I spotted on this and appreciate. Oh, hold on. Before I forget, take a look under the sink over here on the right side of your screen. Just like the kitchen, they gave you a place for a wastebasket in the bathroom. And I can't tell you how many RV manufacturers, I swear, RVs are designed by people who have never camped. And before I forget, the basically almost all the lights in the RV are dimmable. So if you really want to diet down at night and not be blinded by the light, Bruce Springsteen and Manfred Mann style, you don't have to be. Now with the slide closed, it obviously gets much, much tighter in here. And as I mentioned, this bed will be non-functional, essentially, in road mode. Now, technically speaking, like if you're just solo and if you're okay with just like, now, I don't have the mattress totally pushed flat, but pushing the mattress flat and using it like almost like a day bed and curling up on it, you technically could. I don't know that everyone's necessarily going to consider it that way. The, your bathroom, of course, readily available, accessible in transit. But listen to this. I'm going to be quiet for just a second. I'm standing directly. I have the camera directly under the air conditioner. I have this thing absolutely cranked to complete max right now. I have the engine running right now. Here's how noisy it is. So, this might be the quietest air conditioning system I've ever personally experienced in an RV. I've seen some that are very good. This is absolutely ranking up there. The omnidirectional airflow intake that they have on that air unit makes a huge difference. Now, on your command panel, I want you to do something. If you buy this RV, I want you to put a note on it that says Windows right next to the slide button, because that window does tilt open for airflow. And if it's left open, if you close it, you could cause yourself some problems. So one of the other things, I can't really display it well on camera. One of the reasons I like these Mercedes chassis is because I'm a guy with long legs. I can actually fit in this thing, but with the driver 1, driver 2, actually driver 3 memory positions, my wife and I can each have it set the way that we want it. And this doesn't feel so intimidating that some people are like, I don't want to tow 45 feet. You don't have to. You just get in and you just drive. Now, one of the first things I wanted to talk about when I stepped outside here, we're going to jump down at ground level, cover all the other things, but I wanted to get you up to the roof. And in case you're curious how I'm getting you this footage, we'll say that it's OSHA approved. Moving on from there, up top, 600 watts of factory solar. You see the 15,000 BTU air conditioner. It's all Starlink prepped. But the roof material, it is a fiberglass roof, but it has like a gritty sandpaper texture. It's called Sensation. So if you are up there, you're hosing stuff down, you're using soap, which gets slippery under your feet, you don't end up taking a digger off the side of this thing and breaking your neck. That would be a bad day, obviously. The other thing, if you look really closely, you won't see any self-leveling like die-core putty seals. That stuff is fine, but it has a way of aging out and drying out and allowing leaks. This is an all gasket sealed system, and I don't know that I ever want to call anything zero maintenance, because I think that sounds, it sets maybe the wrong impression. I'm going to call this one of the lowest maintenance roof systems that is out there in almost anywhere, even in the motorized world. Now, since this is a motorized rig, I'm going to give you a little bit more time with the weights and the measures on the left-hand side of the screen over there, because we do have a few more of them to consider. But while you're kind of taking that in, I want to point a couple things out. Again, this is riding on a little bit different chassis from what your... like basically they're trying to bleed the line between a B plus and a C on this thing is sort of what they're doing. But by going with that Mercedes 4500 chassis, there was just so many things that it allowed them to do. It allowed them to, again, bulk up the frame, a lot of extra steel reinforcement on the frame and the groundwork on this. Without getting too technical, what that's going to do is provide better stability, and it will control, eliminate, and reduce so much of that body roll. So not only when you go over bumps or when you're leaving a fueling station, but when you, if you get hit by a wicked crosswind or something like that, it just doesn't shove you all over the road. Now, again, because they are a little bit wider, these are those little detail things. I don't even know how well it shows up on camera, but stuff like the wider running boards to give you just a bigger, more stable platform to put your feet when you get out of this thing. You might have noticed, keep an eye under the skirt line when I back up, you have the leveling system on here. A lot of coaches like that right there. That's multiple thousands of additional dollars represented on this coach. That is not necessarily standard equipment on many other Mercedes coaches. It's not an accident. Like, this is not going to be the least expensive, Mercedes motorhome that you're going to see. I think one of the goals is to make it one of the most detail-oriented and most highly outfitted and decorated kind of rigs. If I'm reading the tea leaves, actually, hold on. I'm going to back up a little bit. We are looking at one of the paint packages today. They have several different paint packages with a base fiberglass exterior. That's actually one of the very few options that is available on this coach. Normally, we just have fiberglass and decals on the outside. This is a full paint package right here. Now, one of the things is, yeah, it's spendy. It looks good, but it will keep the RV looking so good long term. And don't take my word for that. Go looking in the used RV market at some stuff that's a little bit older, and it's incredible how fresh it still looks out there. Now, one of the other things I noticed on this is how they went with that full Girard armless awning thing right here. And as a result, it allowed them to really maximize the shaded patio awning space without giving you a way to get a concussion effectively when you're walking out of it. Now, here's another thing they did different. They went with a legit Euro, like motorhome style door. And one of the things that I noticed on it is not just the, it's got a neat little power step, but notice how it's radius cornered on the bottom. That is just a little more structurally sound as a result. And the other thing I noticed is that it has 2 striker locations. It has 2 latch locations, which helps this door stay secure better. Now, I'm not really aware of any motorhome that has a recurring problem with doors popping open in transit or anything like that. But I tell you what, you don't have to spend very long at a campground. Just go to any RV park and just listen for a minute. Just stop, in the middle of the park and listen. And eventually you're going to hear thunk, 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 where someone is just slamming the bejesus out of their RV door because the thing will not latch. Well, you don't have that problem here. You have the Rockford Fosgate system outdoors with its own little control unit as well, just to the left of that outdoor 12-volt smart TV, by the way. Now, the outdoor entertainment doesn't have the blow your face off subwoofer that the inside does. It still sounds a lot better than a lot of cheaper RV speakers, though. I'll give you that. I'm going to come back in a minute and open up all the baggage compartments, by the way. Real quick, while we're looking up top, you see that sort of the accessory bar cage system right there. A lot of that is just for visuals, because if you look at a lot of coaches in this, you get that funky hump with the cab over, and then it just looks kind of flat and weird where you have the rest of that fiberglass roofing, because it's not a membrane roof, by the way. That's fiberglass roofing. Well, they kind of just framed it up a little bit. And you have 600 watts of factory standard solar up there. And the type of panels that they're using, as long as you're not walking on it with Uncle Gary's high heels, you can actually, if you got decent, clean shoes, you can walk on those solar panels. So you still have full roof access for service reasons. Now, we're going to get back to a cool safety feature they have in a minute. Real quick, I do want to mention the hitching and the weight capacities back here. You have a 350-pound rated hitch that can handle 3,500 pounds of towing, by the way. But look at the tail lights. We have 4 on the left and right sides, 4 of which on each side are, 4 of which total are mounted, I would say, in the upper half of the rig, effectively. So if like you have a bike rack or something on the back side of this thing and it's blocking the view of the taillights, other people behind you can still see when you're hitting the brakes. And it's insane how many RVs in general just don't think about that. Notice the ladder prep point right there. So if you want to get up to that roof, you absolutely can. Let's talk about the slide out over here. We obviously have that protective slide awning. Look at the depth of this thing. This is another one of those things. I don't know if it even translates on camera, but as far as I am aware, this is the deepest slide in this class I've ever personally seen. And that's one of the reasons they were able to get that residential length bed in the bedroom area, which is an unfathomably uncommon thing in this class and this floor plan, basically. It's not that it's an original floor plan. It's just that, like Vanilla Ice to the extreme, they're trying to rock this mic like a vandal and wax chumps like candles. So moving on from there. This is also a slim rack slide system. Not a lot of coaches on this kind of floor plan are still running a Schwintek system. Slim rack seems to be turning in better service results, and it can actually be occupied while retracted, which is nice. Now, your docking center back here, you can see where you have your pull valves for all your tanks and everything. And remember, I don't know if I mentioned this. If I forgot to mention it before, shame on me. But they're using all SharkBite plumbing connectors on this. So none of the PEX on Flex kind of hose concerns. All SharkBite plumbing fixtures. If you're not familiar with those, Google that real quick. That's an absolutely awesome feature that is way above required RV code. That's your Truma AquaGo on-demand water heater. Now, this is a little bit of storage under the bed, basically under the headboard area of the bed, but that access panel right there, that'll let you get to some of your control panel kind of stuff if need be. But even the plug over here on the RV, this actually is itself a circuit analyzer. It's telling you, like, you see how all the lights are green. That's good. But, like, if, the GLN, it will light up and tell you if you have a bad ground, if there's low voltage, if you, if there's a problem. You can tell the moment you plug into your RV before you flip your disconnect if there's an issue, so you don't end up, flipping your mind on this thing. Now, down here, we have ourselves a 3600 propane generator, which is my personal preference. With the new Mercedes setup, I don't know if you're even able to run a diesel generator, but I prefer propane anyway, because it's a much more stable and clean burning fuel source, so that if you don't use this coach for 2 or 3 years, a diesel generator has the carburetor tends to get gummed up. Propane really doesn't. It'll typically just fire right up. It's very rare for propane to gum itself out. The Euro windows right here, the noise cancellation on those, the superior insulative quality, those are 2.5 times more insulating than the best dual pane thermal window bonded glass windows that the RV industry normally uses. And the airflow capacity on them is absolutely unrivaled. It's basically standard equipment, but it is cool, worth mentioning how this does have like turn signal activated side view cameras, rear view camera, obviously factory standard, and the collision detection system on this and avoidance. So like if you got your cruise set and somebody decides to pull out in front of you going way too slow, the vehicle will bring its own speed down, which is great if you're doing a little bit of distracted driving, which I don't necessarily recommend. But I've also found that to be really, really handy when you get into those kind of traffic jam situations for just easy cruising. And I don't know what you're necessarily going to glean from it, but whenever I see something with a motor, I always figure, hey, you're potentially buying the whole thing. You might actually, want to see the motor. One of the other things that we're going to get to see over here is they basically have a smarter like power management and charging system, because in a sense you've got a couple different batteries going on. When you fire up the motor, you've got your alternator charging up the engine motor, but your house batteries, your lithium battery, you treat lithium batteries differently. So they have like a DC to DC charging system. So essentially what's happening here is that every battery is getting the appropriate power for the type of charging it's supposed to enjoy. I didn't show this earlier. I really like the access to the power management system right here. One of the other things here is you're not going to see this big ugly cacophony of wires anywhere, big rat's nest of wires. All these fuses right here, like if for some reason a fuse pops, it'll turn red, it'll pop out. You can push button, put that thing back in and get yourself charged back up and identify what the problem might be. But it's just a cleaner system, and you don't have to carry that entire box of blade fuses around necessarily. A little bit bigger propane capacity on this also, if I'm not mistaken. One of the only things that kind of made me scratch my head a little bit is, yeah, we have an onboard inverter, but it's only about 1,000 watts, which seems a little bit lackluster to me. But then again, with this RV having an onboard generator, I suppose if you want to do some serious 110 power heavy lifting, you've already got an excellent source for something like that. And any of these like outdoor storage compartments like this, with the exception of the one under the bed, it's all rotocast. So essentially it's a seamless molded thing. So if you really wanted to hose that sucker out, I wouldn't suggest getting stupid with a power wash or something, but in theory you kind of could. So thanks again for tuning in, everybody. Let me know what you think about this. Like I said, I don't get a chance to cover many motorhomes, not because I have anything against them. I just don't bump into that many. So I wanted to make the time to get some base footage on this because I had a lot of requests for this. So you folks continue to drive this channel, continue to let me know what you want to see, and I'll do my best to make it happen. And in the meantime, you're probably curious, whoa, what's this thing going to set me back? I'll drop you some links in the video description where you can double check MSRP and availability. Now, keep in mind, we don't sell for MSRP, but in the case of this product, I don't believe we're able to publish our discounted sale price on it. And also remember, we don't do hidden dealer fees. We just put it all right on the line for you and try to make that shopping experience a little bit easier. So apologies for the convenience. When you're ready, we're ready. And in the meantime, take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.